Sign back and then just well, thank you all for being here today, and I want to thank Leader McCarthy for his support in this effort in the defense of our institution. Thank the ranking member for his leadership on the committee. We're making a simple request today that Democrats protect the integrity of the House of Representatives and refer Michael Cohen to the Department of Justice for perjury. Why is this controversial? Michael Cohen swore under oath to tell the truth before the House Oversight Committee, but he lied, and multiple times. Ranking Member Jordan and the rest of us warned the Democrats that we couldn't trust a man who was going to jail for lying to Congress. That's just common sense. We warned the Democrats that it would be foolish to fall into his trap, but they couldn't help themselves. They took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Chairman Cummings promised the American people that if Michael Cohen lied, he'd hold him accountable. And I quote, nail him to the cross, end quote. But 43 days later, and nothing from Chairman Cummings. Why hasn't the chairman acted? Doesn't he want to protect the integrity of his committee? His inaction and the inaction of House Democrats only encourages future witnesses to lie to us. Democrats claim that they want to get to the truth, but it appears they're perfectly okay with witnesses lying to them as long as it supports their anti-Trump agenda. If the Democrat leadership won't take action on their own, at the very least they should permit a vote on the floor and allow this resolution to refer Cohen to the DOJ. Let's have a debate, then let's let the members decide. That's how the House is supposed to operate. I want to thank Leader McCarthy for his leadership. You heard it earlier today, the contrast between what he is pushing, the people's agenda, and what Speaker Pelosi is pushing, 2020 talking points. And I want to thank our ranking member for the committee, his leadership, his direction, and his drive to get to the truth. I want to thank the other members and the members of the press who are here. It's time for us to defend the integrity of our institution. Thank you. I'll be followed by Leader McCarthy.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Congressman Green, not only for his work on this, but his service to the nation. He has a long history of standing up what's right for this country. It was somewhat ironic that when it came to the announcement of a first hearing of a first witness of the Democrat majority, that they would pick somebody who was going to jail for lying. Before this man, Mr. Cohen, even raised his right hand to swear he'd already lied. That is why Chairman Cummings numerous times warned the witness. Just as Congressman Green said. Numerous times. Chairman Cummings said that he would be the first to refer him to the Department of Justice if he lied. There's not one person in America that does not understand Michael Cohen lied that day. He didn't lie once, he lied 7 times. I respect Chairman Cummings. I respect him based upon my working with him through the years. I do not understand 42 days later why he didn't keep his word. I do not understand when we asked after this had taken place, would you refer him? It's not that we asked him to do something he said he would not do. He made a promise, not to those in the room, but to all of America. It comes to the integrity of this House. This is not a partisan issue. This is about, will you keep your word? We know Michael Cohen would not. We know the chairman said he would be the first to refer. That's why we waited. That's why we gave them the ability to do what they said they would do, to do what was right. But I want to thank the ranking member, Jim Jordan, for helping lead this, for being patient, for trying to work with the chairman, to hold him to his own word. But today, we have filed this. We will give the entire body an opportunity to do what they said they would do. It's not about this one situation. It's about the integrity of this House, and more importantly, what's the integrity of their majority. I now would like to yield to our whip, Steve Scalise. Thank you, Kevin. You know, we were all incredibly surprised when the majority announced that their very first witness would be someone who was already pled guilty to lying to Congress. It was almost laughable, but it was clear they wanted to create a media circus. And they got their media circus. But in their rush to get their media circus, they also created a situation where they've themselves hurt the integrity of the very institution that they're now in charge of. Speaker Pelosi ought to be outraged. Chairman Cummings ought to be outraged that the very first witness they brought to testify before Congress not only was somebody who already pled guilty to lying to Congress, but then in that very hearing lied to Congress again. Where is the outrage? Why isn't Chairman Cummings the most outraged, as he promised during that hearing, that he'd nail him to the cross if he lied? And Cohen lied over and over. This ought to be investigated by the Justice Department. Chairman Cummings ought to be leading the charge to refer this to justice for prosecution. We ultimately need to uphold the rule of law. And yet here you've got a situation, as this entire committee, led by Jim Jordan on our side, has stood together and said, it's time that we stand up for the integrity of the institution and of this committee, even if the leaders on the Democrat side won't. They ought to be outraged that their star witness, this was the person they invited, came to Congress already pleading guilty to lying to Congress, and then right in front of their faces, diminishing their own integrity, lied to Congress again. They ought to be the most outraged. We're outraged because it happened. All of the American people who watched were outraged. Sure, they got a media circus, but they also got to witness somebody holding up their right hand and then lying to this great institution that deserves the integrity and the respect that all of the American people entrust it with. So it's time that they stand up for the integrity of this institution and for the rule of law. And we're calling on Chairman Cummings. 42 days is long enough. He might not be willing to take action. Maybe they're not outraged, but we are, and we're going to take action. So with that, turn it over to our conference chair, Liz Cheney.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank my colleague, Mark Green, for bringing this bill forward, and our ranking members, Mr. Jordan and Mr. Meadows, and all of my colleagues on the committee. You know, the Democrats, led by Mr. Cummings, really do have a choice to make here. They can either demonstrate that they actually are committed to the rule of law, that they're committed to the integrity of this institution, that they're committed to the truth, or by failing to take action, by failing to support this referral, they'll be demonstrating that they really are just about partisan politics. Now, we have watched the Democrats again and again and again since they've taken the majority demonstrate that they are engaged in a partisan attack, a partisan level of negotiations, launching investigations, putting all of their hopes in things like the Mueller report, and then realizing that what they said was there wasn't there. We saw them say it again and again and again. We watched as they brought this witness, Mr. Cohen, before the committee, knowing that he had lied to Congress, as my colleague said, knowing that he was going to jail for that, and apparently being willing to completely overlook it. So now we're asking them, please join with us. If there's anything that should be bipartisan, it ought to be the support for the truth, the support for the rule of law, and the support for the integrity of this institution. Because congressional investigations and congressional oversight will be damaged severely and potentially permanently if our committee chairmen are not willing to stand up and do the right thing when somebody very clearly perjures themselves in front of our committees. So I want to thank my colleagues for their hard work on this. Thanks to the leader very much and to the whip for their support. And I'd like to turn things over now to Mr. Meadows.
Well, I want to thank the leadership for joining us in this effort to get to the truth. And that's what this is all about. Congressman Green has introduced this particular resolution. It's actually been filed. But more importantly, what's going to happen now is we're going to wait for 2 weeks for the truth and for hopefully the Democrats to join us. But there will be a vote on this. Congressman Green has drafted this in a privileged manner, and when we return, Hopefully, we will find, as Conference Chair Cheney just said, hopefully we will see that Democrats have come together in a bipartisan way to say that we will not allow a witness to come in here and lie and admit, even by his own attorney's admission, that perhaps the testimony he gave was not exactly the truth. And so we have this particular resolution that in 2 weeks we'll be having a vote on. And it will be up to Speaker Pelosi to decide on whether that's going to be a bipartisan vote, standing up for this institution, or whether it will be exercised in a privileged manner to make sure that everyone goes on record. And so I just want to thank Ranking Member Jordan for his leadership on this. He has been patient. We have given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for this to be addressed. And the day has come that it will now be addressed. And so I yield to the Ranking Member, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you. As has been said, first announced witness of the 116th Congress, Michael Cohen. First big hearing of the 116th Congress. Michael Cohen, a guy who is going to prison in 3.5 weeks for lying to Congress, comes in front of Congress, lies again at least 7 times. And because we do nothing about it, what happened last week? Michael Cohen sent a letter to Democrats. What did he say? Shazam, I found a new hard drive. If you can all help me stay out of prison, I promise I'll help you some more. I'll come in front of Congress and lie again. I mean, talk about making a mockery of the process. That's why this is so important. And as Mark just said, we have done everything we can to give the Democrats an opportunity to do the right thing, stand up for the accountability of how this institution is supposed to work, stand up for the American people. 42 days. We've sent letters to, we've done a referral to the Attorney General. We've sent a letter to Chairman Cummings. We've sent a letter to the Intel Committee, release his testimony there, because we think he said the same thing there that he said in front of our committee. So we've done everything possible. So I want to thank Mr. Green for bringing this forward. I want to thank our team on the committee who've worked on this issue and so many others. And I really want to thank our leadership team for their support, for the institution, for the truth. As Ms. Cheney said, I want to thank them for being here today. It is as basic and as simple as it gets. And all the resolution says is send the full transcript to the Attorney General. Let him see for himself that this guy came in front of Congress and did what he's done other times. He lied to us, therefore lying to the American people. That's why this is so important. We'll take a couple questions and then we'll be done.
Yeah, is there a disagreement on whether Cohen lied, or is that opposition from the Democrats?
There's no disagreement. I mean, I don't think so. I just think they're not willing to do what they said they were going to do, as Leader McCarthy said. You know, I say this all the time. Why don't you just do what you said? He said it 3 times, the chairman did, right in that hearing. If you're not square with us, we're going to hold you accountable. And he certainly wasn't. Without question on the White House question, seeking employment at the White House, and without question on the pardon issue, we know that what he said was false.
Mr. Jordan, what do you make of Attorney General Barr saying there was spying, and he should look into this investigation in the Senate committee at this point?
I say God bless him. I've been very impressed with the Attorney General. He said yesterday in the hearing in front of the Appropriations Subcommittee that he's going to go back to the beginning, back to the summer of 2016 and examine what took place. I think that's exactly what needs to happen. The American people, I think, want that to happen. We've certainly called on that for I don't know, almost 2 years, I guess. I've been very impressed with the way the Attorney General's handled himself, and I think the fact that he's going to go back and figure out what took place when this whole crazy thing got going, I think that's exactly what's needed.
It's one thing for him to say that he should go back and look at things, but did he jump the gun a little bit?
Well, I think his statement is consistent with documents that Jim Jordan and I have seen in private, and so his statement doesn't come as a surprise to either one of us. In fact, it's consistent with what we have long believed and have long trusted in terms of the documents we've seen. And so for him to look at it, I think is not only important because we're seeking the truth, but it's more important that we're going to hold people accountable for the actions that have taken place over the last 2 years. And so as this starts to unravel, the truth is an amazing medicine for these institutions.
The Attorney General also said today that he has not seen evidence of improper spying. The documents you mentioned, do you think that constitutes evidence of improper spying?
Look, the Attorney General's going to look into it. I think that's the bottom line. We're all pleased that he's going to do that, and he said he's going to go back and start from the start. Start from the summer of 2016. What we do know is that when information was taken to the FISA court, we do know that they didn't tell him who paid for the dossier. We do know that they didn't tell him that Christopher Steele had a strong bias against the president, so strong that he said he was desperate to stop Trump. And we do know that Christopher Steele at some point was terminated, and they didn't tell that to the FISA court either. So the Attorney General knows those facts, and he said he's going to start from the beginning, and I trust that he'll do the kind of investigation that we want the United States Attorney General to do.
Mr. Leader, could you weigh in on this as well? This is speaking.
I want my Attorney General to look at all the facts. That's exactly what he said. We just went through 22 months, $25 million. We just got an answer, and I think he wants to know, why did we spend so much time? Why did we go here? And I would like an individual, as an Attorney General, to make sure this would never happen again. I think everybody in America wants. No prejudgment, but let him look at it. Yes, sir.
Just a series of questions on this, if you don't mind. Do you understand that Mr. Barr's review of these subjects is separate from the IG?
Yes.
Number one.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any insight into the mechanics by which?
I mean, I think James, the Inspector General said, and the Attorney General said that they expect the IG report to be late May, early June.
This is something new.
So I think this is completely separate, and I think that's appropriate.
Do you have any insight into the mechanics by which Mr. Barr will conduct this? If he's appointing someone, if Mr. Huber's investigation is still active?
I think those are questions for the Attorney General.
And what do you expect, based on all the evidence you've amassed to date? What exactly do you think a thorough and honest investigation will find about the senior officials in the Department of Justice and the FBI?
We'll leave that to the Attorney General.
I would not prejudge. Let the Attorney General look at it. We have seen going on for 22 months. We've watched what people have said come out not to be true. Let them find out what's going on. Yes, sir.
Mr. Leader, you spent a lot of time with the president over the weekend down to the border. Is this something that still remains on the president's mind and in private conversations?
We didn't discuss this one time. We discussed the crisis at the border. Everybody in America knows there's a crisis at the border, except for the Democrat majority inside this House, even those who served in the Obama administration. Look, what we're doing today is very simple. What Congressman Green has done is took the chairman at his word. The chairman said he would be the first to refer. The reason why this hearing even took place early, because they had to get the witness before them because he was on his way to jail. Had they waited a short time later, he would have been in jail. So they had to have it early because the witness was leaving. The witness raises his hand and lies. The chairman warns him numerous times because he knows the individual that he has before him. So he makes a promise to the American public that he would be the first to refer. Jim Jordan has been patient. Jim Jordan has worked with this chairman. 42 days is patient enough. Now, Mark Green simply put something that we should not have to do. The integrity of the House should not come to this. If you were not willing to stand up to someone who lied before your committee, you should not have told the American public that. You promised them. All we're asking is do what you said you'd do. Thank you and have a good week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good see you, buddy.